Rabbi Weiss, can I ask you a quick question? Russell Dobler from DueDissidence.
Okay.
We are told that Israel is a oasis of democracy and Western values in the Middle East. How would you respond to that?
It's an oasis of hell. That's what I can tell you. That alone, that they declare proudly that they're a democracy, shows their hypocrisy. Because Judaism means that you're subservient to God, that you must keep the Ten Commandments, the whole Torah, not to work on the Sabbath. How dare they declare it's a Jewish state when they openly desecrate the Sabbath with all the stores open and on and on and on, and every other commandment they breach, they oppress the religious Jews, and this is something they're doing since their creation. So you see the hypocrisy to the world. They declare they're a Jewish state, and you dare not speak up against them because then you're anti-Semitic. While they're the greatest anti-Semites, the oppression, the murder, the beating of Jewish children that is ongoing in the streets of Jerusalem. You can see here, it's not only their police, it's the army. They brutally beat, assassinate old men, young children. They have no compunctions. They have no problem with doing this. Why? Because we stand on the street as I'm doing here, simply speaking. This is here you see they're spraying them with the stink water that ruins their clothes in order to discourage demonstrations. And here at Columbia University, it happened. They sprayed 2 students. And it became a big scandal. This they do with impunity for 76 years. We're dealing with gangsters. We're dealing with a community that is counterfeiters. They're using another religion in Judaism to further their selfish goal of occupying another people. All the rabbinical authorities stood in opposition when they decided to create the state. They changed the language. They call it modern Hebrew, Ivrit. What was wrong with the old Goshen Kodesh making a Jewish state? God's language. It's full of hypocrisy. Everything they do, all the rabbis in one voice pleaded with the United Nations and attempted that it should not be accepted. This case of a Jewish state, the so-called Jewish state. Here you have the words of Rabbi Dushinsky, who was the chief rabbi of the Jewish community, said, "We furthermore wish to express our definite opposition to a Jewish state in any part of Palestine." This was when he was meeting with the delegation of the United Nations in 1947. It's in the United Nations records and their documents. He said, "We don't want this state." He was the head of the Jewish community. But the Zionists came from Austria. They were supported by Britain and then the United Nations. So it is beyond comprehension. They create a state against the will of the majority who were Muslims, and then the Christian community and the Jewish community by the world body that was created to bring peace to the world. You call it a Jewish state, it defies logic. A Jewish state meaning that you're going to have the majority of people, even let us just say if the Jewish community wanted that state, how could you create a land, a state where a whole segment of that population, and here in this case the majority, will be considered lesser than the others because it's under a name of another religion? It defies logic. The whole concept is satanic, and that's what we're seeing today. Over 10 months of satanic murder of people, and the world is silent. That's why we're here. With God's help, God should see the people coming out and doing for His honor. People call humanity, we call godliness, and He, with His compassion, will bring an end speedily and peacefully to this occupation.
Why do you think that, in spite of all the opposition, both the Republicans and the Democrats and RFK, they all are almost in lockstep, almost no difference in their policy on Israel?
Yeah. Well, look, like I said, it's satanic. The concept is satanic. It's an insult to common decency, to common logic. How, again, did they establish, how South Africa was able to exist for tens of years as a clearly apartheid state, and they were given the greatest respect in the United Nations, and anybody who spoke up against them were considered terrorists, like Nelson Mandela was 27 years in prison. How is that possible? Yet it went on for many tens of years. because it is possible for a world body, it is possible for whole countries and distinguished politicians and presidents and so on to support something that is corrupt, evil, and unacceptable. That is, so I can't answer why the Almighty gives Satan the power, but that is what we're dealing with. We can discuss this and we could say because they're being conned, because Jews suffered in the World War II, and people sympathize with the Jewish people who suffered, so they feel they have to give them a homeland. Even though I could say from personally, my grandparents were murdered in Auschwitz. My father escaped from the Nazis. When the Nazis came into Hungary, he escaped. And the majority of my mother's family and father's family of blessed memory were murdered by the Nazis, both in Poland and Hungary. Our rabbis, our communities never said, because of that we should steal land from the Palestinians. That is absolutely not a justification for establishing that. Not only it's not a justification, the Torah is clear. If you're Jewish, the Torah tells us we are forbidden to re-establish a Jewish homeland since the destruction of the temple, and certainly not by killing or stealing. This whole concept of Zionism is a base nationalism created by a movement of heretics. You'll ask them, why do you need the state? And there's God who protects us. They laugh. They say, you're going with God? Where was God by the suffering? They spew heresy. They spew blasphemy. It's rooted, their creation of the state, in heresy and blasphemy and in the non-belief of God and ridiculing all his laws.
Do you believe the Jewish people should leave that region?
We believe there should be a free Palestine. And I've met with the Palestinian people. I was in Gaza. We met with Ismail Haniyeh. We met with President Arafat. We had our representative. We're non-political. We meet with all. Here you can see when they made the PLO, we had our representatives from Jerusalem in the PLO for many years. His name was Rabbi Moshe Hirsch of blessed memory. The Zionists poured acid in his face and blinded him in one eye. We went to Gaza. We met when the Prime Minister was Ismail Haniyeh. We met with him, and he declared openly and unambiguously that I'm not against Jews, he said. We want to live in peace. We simply want our freedom. We went to Lebanon. We met with the heads of the Shiite. We went to Iran. We met with Ayatollah Khamenei and Ayatollah Khamenei. And they all clearly stated we're not against Jews. And you go to Iran, you find there's synagogues and schools, Jewish schools. They're not against Jews. That's a vulgar, repugnant, Zionist method of attack against the people who want peace and a free Palestine. They simply vilify the others and dehumanize anybody who stands up against them. That is why the world is silent, possibly, at the murder, the scourge of the horrific murder, what's happening in Gaza, because they were so successful, the Zionism, the hands of the Satan, of dehumanizing the people of Palestine, that the world is silent. But we dare not be silent. We must speak up. We must cry and hurt with the people of Gaza and of Palestine. It's not Jewish. It's against Judaism. It's against God to stand and perpetrate this crime from the beginning, from the establishment of the state to this horrific murder in Gaza.
Thank you very much, Rabbi Weiss.
Please clap.